Bonjour tout le monde, merci d'être là. Hello everyone, thank you for coming. Aujourd'hui, je vous présente mon plan pour mettre le gouvernement au service des Canadiens. Mon plan de réforme du gouvernement. Le plan, qui est en 3 points, vise à améliorer le fonctionnement du gouvernement. Premièrement, nous allons limiter la durée du mandat des députés et des sénateurs. Ensuite, nous allons redistribuer les pouvoirs des bureaux des chefs de parti vers le président de la Chambre, les députés et les citoyens et citoyennes du Canada. Finalement, nous allons introduire une deuxième chambre pour faire en sorte que le gouvernement devienne plus productif. So today I'm happy to pronounce and give to you our government reform plan. We're going to put government back to work for Canadians. And this is a 3-point plan that is going to have government working. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to limit the terms of both senators and members of parliament. The second step is that we are going to redistribute the power that's been concentrated in the offices of the leaders of the different parties, and we're going to give it back to the Speaker of the House, we're going to give it back to the members of parliament, and we're also going to give some of that power to the citizens of Canada. And finally, we're going to introduce a second chamber, and this is going to make the government far more productive. So, our first point, the setting of term limits. Our system was not designed for professional politicians. What we need is for people to come to Canada, come to Ottawa, use their expertise to contribute to the debate, and then move on and leave space for new Canadians to come and take their place. And this will bring a diversity of knowledge and expertise into our decision making. And therefore, MPs will not be eligible to run again after they have passed the 10-year mark of being elected. They will not be fired, but after 10 years, they will have to sit out a prolonged period before they can become a candidate again. As for senators, they would be limited to one 10-year period. Alors, nous allons limiter la durée des mandats des députés. Ceci est partie 1 de mon plan de réforme du gouvernement. Notre système n'a pas été conçu pour les politiciens professionnels. Ce dont nous avons besoin, c'est que les gens viennent à Ottawa, qui utilisent leur domaine de compétences pour contribuer au débat et après qu'ils cèdent leur place aux prochains Canadiens et Canadiennes. Cela apportera une diversité de connaissances et d'expertise dans notre processus de prise de décision. Par conséquent, les députés ne pourront pas se représenter après avoir passé le cap de 10 ans d'être élus. Ils ne seront pas renvoyés, mais après 10 ans, ils devront attendre une période prolongée avant de pouvoir se présenter de nouveau. Les sénateurs seront limités à une période de 10 ans. Now, point number 2. The concentration of power in the hands of party leaders has led to a serious degradation in our debates and our ability to get work done. Therefore, we're going to redistribute their power. Our system was designed to promote robust debate among different voices so as to get the best policies put forward. Unfortunately, with the concentration of power, Parliament has become gridlocked and unable to get work done. So, we will take power from party leaders and give it back to the Speaker of the House, the MPs, and the citizens of Canada. The Canadian system is a Westminster system. However, we are the only system in the world that uses the Westminster system where the Speaker does not get to decide who speaks. That power has been consumed by the party leaders. So we're going to take it from them and give it back to the Speaker of the House. With respect to members of Parliament, they will be freed to do what they were sent to do, which is to represent their constituents. So we're going to free their voices to allow them to speak up when they should, and they are representing their constituents. This is a representative democracy. And finally, we're going to use the electronic petition system to allow Canadians to bring debates into the House of Commons. Petitions that garner more than 75,000 signatures will then be debated in Parliament. Alors, le deuxième point de mon plan de réforme du gouvernement fait affaire avec la concentration du pouvoir entre les mains des chefs de parti. Ceci a entraîné une grave dégradation de nos débats et de notre capacité d'accomplir le travail. C'est pourquoi nous allons redistribuer le pouvoir. Notre système a été conçu pour promouvoir un débat solide entre différentes voix afin d'obtenir les meilleures politiques. Malheureusement, avec cette concentration de pouvoir, le Parlement est devenu bloqué, incapable de travailler. Nous allons donc reprendre le pouvoir des chefs de parti et le rendre au président de la Chambre, aux députés et aux citoyens et citoyennes du Canada. Dans le système parlementaire au Westminster, le président de la Chambre du Canada est le seul au monde qui ne décide pas qui prend la parole. Les chefs de parti se sont appropriés de ce pouvoir. Alors, le pouvoir va être de décider qui prend la parole sera rendu au président de la Chambre, tout ça devrait être. Les députés seront libres de représenter les voix des électeurs, les gens qui les ont élus, et c'est exactement ça qu'ils devront faire. Finalement, nous utiliserons le système de pétition électronique pour permettre aux Canadiens d'introduire des débats à la Chambre des communes. Les pétitions qui auront recueilli plus de 75 000 signatures seront débattues au Parlement. Finally, the third part of my plan to reform government is to do with a second chamber. We will introduce a second chamber for debate into the House of Commons. A second chamber allows government business and legislation to move faster through the system. You have to think of it as a two-way highway. The main debates will still take place in the House of Commons. However, uncontested business such as petition presentations, member statements, members' motions, and the like will take place in the second chamber. This will have a very positive impact on the productivity of the government. I should note that Australia has had one for over 30 years, and the United Kingdom has had one for over 25 years. So, this will modernize our government. Finalement, le troisième partie de mon plan pour réformer le gouvernement, c'est que nous allons introduire une deuxième chambre pour les débats. Une deuxième chambre permet aux affaires gouvernementales et à la législation d'avancer plus rapidement à travers le système. Il s'agit d'une autoroute à deux voies. Le débat principal continuera d'avoir lieu dans la Chambre des communes et les affaires non contestées, telles que les présentations des pétitions, les déclarations des députés et d'autres, auront lieu dans la deuxième chambre. Cela aura un impact très positif sur la productivité du gouvernement. Et je souligne que l'Australie dispose d'une telle chambre depuis plus que 30 ans et le Royaume-Uni plus de 25 ans. Alors, avec ça, vous avez mon plan pour la réforme du gouvernement. And with that, you have my three-point plan to reform government. Thank you for coming. Merci d'être là.
Mr. Baylis, welcome back to Ottawa.
Thank you.
Just on your term limits, you know, if you were to be elected as leader and come back to Parliament, presumably, would you have 6 years left to your term limit? Like, how would that work?
What would work is once you've hit the 10-year mark, because we can have minority governments and majority governments, after you've hit the 10-year mark, you might still be a member of Parliament, so you're not going to lose your job, but the next election, you would not be allowed to run unless you've stepped out for a prolonged period, which would be to be debated. But it would most likely be in the order of 10 years. What I'm trying to do here is deprofessionalize the political class. I don't want professional career politicians. We want people that have expertise, whether it's people that are in the mining field, whether it's medical doctors, lawyers, business people, engineers like myself, I'm a professional engineer, that come to Ottawa, contribute, use their expertise, and then make space for people with other ideas in that.
But you served for 4 years already, so would you be allowed to serve another 10 consecutive years? Like how?
No, it's not necessarily 10 consecutive years. So it's once you've done your 10 years, you're out.
Just on defense spending, just because I know other candidates have kind of laid out their plan in recent days, what Would you commit to attaining the 2% GDP of
Well,
GDP for
yeah, I
NATO
could say
spending?
that I'm glad that Mr. Carney's caught up to me. If you look on the Financial Post, I've written an article on that about 9 months ago, saying that we've signed this international agreement. So I don't see how we can sign an international agreement and then come back to Canada and start debating, should we follow what we signed? So I think that goes without saying. If we sign these agreements, we should meet them. And exactly as Mr. Carney has followed my lead and said he was going to do it in 2030, you can see my article in the Financial Post on that.
Okay, so you're also committing to 2030.
That's from my article, yes, as well, in the Financial Post of last year.
How would you pay for that? Because obviously it's going to
I'm
be
going to
possible.
use intelligent procurement. So what we're not doing here is reinvesting in ourselves. So there's phenomenal opportunity to use that spending to build our own industries. That's what a lot of the other G7 countries are doing, and we're going to do that ourselves. And it's part of my economic plan, which I'll be laying out later on.
Just if I may, I just have another question on fundraising, because I know Karina Gould this morning, she was very critical of the fundraising goals the party has set, and she said, and I quote, speaking of the party, they have tried to make it as hard as possible for only a few candidates to participate in this race. Do you agree with her, and do you think you will meet those goals?
I can't speak for Karina Gould. I'm going to meet all the goals. I understand the party. It's in a very difficult position. This is a very condensed race. We have a very short time period. We're facing an election very quickly afterwards, and we have a gentleman south of the border that's shooting at us all the time. So it makes it for a very stressful time, but I respect what the party's doing, and we're going to work within the confines of the rules that the party's laid out.
Can I just follow up on that? She's expressed difficulty meeting the fundraising threshold. She said that the party is trying to limit the number of people who are in the race. That means a narrower pool of candidates, fewer ideas, possibly less from the grassroots. So is that not something that concerns you, that you have a rival candidate who is saying that the party has set a very high and difficult bar to clear?
It's my understanding that the conservative one was, I think, you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, was 300,000, so ours is 350,000. I know there's been inflation. I don't know if that adds up for it or not, but I don't spend time worrying about these challenges in front of me. There are challenges that we all have to face. I like Karina Gould a lot. I think she's an excellent voice for young people, and I think it's great that we have such great people running for the leadership. I see each one of them brings something to the table, and I like Karina's voice. As per me getting into the nitty-gritty of what she feels the party has or hasn't done, that's outside of my view.
The Conservatives, though, their race lasted much longer. It lasted almost a year. The candidates had much longer to fundraise this high amount of money. Is that not a concern to you, though, that you have a person who's potentially would be on the debate stage with you? They would be removed. It would remove an element of the leadership race, make your party potentially less competitive.
Well, look, you could say that it should be $10. You could say that it should be $10 million. There's a number. We all agree there's some number that has to be put forward. We can look at the recent example as I gave and say, was that number reasonable or not within the time frame? It's a debate that I'm not really that, how do I say, je suis pas prêt avec ce débat-là. Pourquoi? Parce que on a beaucoup d'autres choses beaucoup plus grandes à débattre. So we have a lot of bigger problems and challenges in front of us. There's challenges in every sense. I'm not well known compared to some of the people that have got a lot of press. That's my challenge. So I'm not going around going, it's not fair that I'm not well known. I've been in the business world, and let me rephrase that. I am known in certain circles, and I'm respected for what I've achieved in certain circles, but I haven't lived in Ottawa, so I'm not part of the Ottawa bubble. Now, some people could say that's unfair or not, but I'm not someone that focuses on these negativities. I'm a big believer in Canada and what we have to offer to the world, what we can do. I see great opportunity for Canada, and that's where my mind is, and that's where my focus is.
So you're not concerned the race favors these two candidates everyone's talking about who are getting all of this press, Freeland and Carney?
Again, I've found in my life to focus on what you can do. I'm focused on what we can do for Canada, for Canadians. I'm excited about my candidacy. To be honest, I think that I may be overly optimistic, but I don't think so. I think as more people get to know who I am and what I'm bringing to the table, I think they're going to get on board. And I can tell you, every time I do one of these things, I'm absolutely flooded with emails and text message and WhatsApps and that of encouragement. So yes, I have my challenges, but that's part of life, and I'm working through them.
And Just one thing on the defense spending. So there are two candidates now who say that they can hit the 2% GDP mark by 2027, but you're saying 2030. What's the difference there? Why will it take so long?
Even at 2030, I wrote that article, I remember, in a year ago, so that was a 6-year time frame, and even that's quite tight, because it's not about just spending money, but it's about spending it intelligently. So if you do procurement intelligently, we can use it to reinvest in our own universities, in our own industries. We can make great jobs with it. So we want to do this. We want to have a plan to get there. I wrote an article a year ago, which Mark Carney is now parroting, which is his right to do so, but I have a plan to get us there, but intelligently, because we don't want to be wasting money as we get there, and we want to be, how would I say, buying and investing in what we truly need. One of the things we can do quite soon, though, is we are underpaying our soldiers. I don't think so these are certain things that we can do right away to say, look, this is a very good profession, we need you, we want to encourage you, and we could look at how we pay them, how we give them pensions. There's a lot of work just on that level, but that's just one part of a bigger plan.
Baylis, vous êtes
Bonjour.
québécois. Bonjour. Vous êtes québécois. J'aimerais avoir votre avis sur les langues officielles. Au Parti libéral, on n'a pas toujours reconnu qu'il y avait un déclin du français, d'abord au Québec, puis dans le reste du Canada. J'aimerais avoir votre opinion sur le sujet. Est-ce que vous reconnaissez qu'il y a un déclin du français?
Pour moi, même que j'ai un nom français et puis j'ai un accent un peu anglophone, c'est important à souligner que le français fait partie de ma culture. Moi, je suis né au Québec, mais j'ai grandi à Toronto. Même quand j'ai grandi à Toronto, mes parents ont toujours insisté que je suis allé à une école française, une école secondaire et primaire en français. Et puis, mon père, qui était quelqu'un de très religieux, nous apportait toujours à l'église en français. Alors, et je peux aussi souligner que beaucoup de mes amis de ma jeunesse étaient des franco-ontariens. Alors, pour moi, maintenant, oui, je vis à Québec pour les dernières 30 ans. Je me sens québécois. Et c'est important que les gens sachent que ça fait partie de ma culture, dont je suis extrêmement fier. Le français au Nord-Amérique, il y aura toujours des défis. C'est une île entourée de l'anglais. Alors, moi, je suis très pour avoir des programmes proactifs pour protéger, non seulement protéger, mais pour promouvoir la langue. Mais je veux voir ces actions qui sont des actions positives. Nous avons quelque chose de formidable à vendre, d'apprendre une deuxième langue. Et puis, tout ce que ça ouvre avec la culture et tout. Alors, moi, je serais quelqu'un qui va toujours défendre la langue et la culture, mais d'une manière positive. Et je n'arrive pas avec une approche de dire, comment je dirais ça, qu'on se fait attaquer. Non. C'est un fait qu'on existe et qu'on on se doit de prendre notre place, mais qu'on le fait d'une manière positive et proactive.
Est-ce que vous reconnaissez le déclin du français?
Je ne suis pas un expert pour dire que, dans les statistiques, pour dire qu'il y a un déclin, non?
Ils ont reculé et au Québec et au Canada.
Pardon?
Les chiffres des francophones ont reculé et au Québec et au Canada.
C'est une manière de le regarder. Si des pourcentages, on pourrait dire oui, mais en termes globalement, peut-être non. Alors, c'est encore quelque chose qu'on devrait réfléchir là-dessus, mais de promouvoir le français, non seulement au Québec, ou en Ontario, ou l'Acadie, mais à travers le pays. Et moi, je peux vous dire que quand je voyage en Alberta, par exemple, je rencontre toutes sortes de parents qui veulent vraiment que leur enfant apprenne le français. Et je le vois partout. Toutes sortes de nouveaux immigrants qui sont très, très fiers du fait que leurs enfants peuvent parler français, non seulement au Québec, mais à travers le pays. Alors moi, je vois ça comme une excellente opportunité pour vraiment promouvoir et renforcer la langue. Au lieu de rentrer dans un débat, est-ce que ça a été un déclin ou non? Écoute, on se doit de travailler là-dedans. On va le faire, mais on va le faire d'une manière optimiste et positive.
Are you committing to running whether you make it as leader of the Liberal Party or not?
So first of all, I do plan on winning. I'm not in this race to build my profile or to position myself. I plan on winning. I will say that I've been a member of the Liberal Party for about 48 years. 14, so 62, 48 years. For those 48 years, I was a member of Parliament. But I've held many jobs before and afterwards. For example, I've been a financial agent for many years for one of the candidates. I was the head of fundraising for Quebec after the sponsorship scandal. When people were reluctant to take that up, I took up that job. I worked in the referendums, the 1995 referendum, not in the Anglophone areas. I went in the very harder, challenging areas where it was very, how do I say, more Francophone and more separatist areas. And I worked there to promote our country and to work for the no side. Since being, no longer being an MP, I've worked on many campaigns, many by-elections. I put up signs, I door knock, I love door knocking. So I've always been a member of the Liberal Party, and I will always be a member of the Liberal Party. Now, if some other leader wins, I can't speak for her or him if they would want me or what role they would want me in, but I can assure everybody that I've got a huge track record of being a member of the Liberal Party, and I will absolutely continue to support whoever wins. I hope to win, I plan to win, but I will support whoever wins in the way that they best see fit for me.
But you're not necessarily committed to running as an MP.
I don't have a seat, so I can't make a commitment to something I don't have, and we don't know when the election is going to come, so I'm not someone that's going to make statements that I can't speak to. But I would say this, that it was a great honor for me to be a member of Parliament. I think it's a great honor, and I have great respect for all my colleagues, from all parties, I might add.
Many of the federal cabinet ministers, a lot of the caucus has rallied around Mark Carney, but also many have endorsed Freeland. But you don't have many of these endorsements. I'm wondering if you're concerned about that, or if you have a sales pitch for some of these MPs to come and join your camp.
I was there from 2015 to 2019, and I would say that I have a great respect for almost all of my colleagues, and I like them as people. I think they come to Ottawa and work hard. I've not been part of the system for 6 years. I don't live in Ottawa like Mr. Carney does. I haven't been consulting Mr. Trudeau like Mr. Carney has, so I haven't been in that milieu. But everyone that I meet, I get a lot of encouragement. They all say, Frank, we're happy that you're in the race. We're happy that your voice is there. And I would look forward to working with them if I've given that opportunity. I will say that I did not reach out to anybody before the Prime Minister decided to leave because I didn't think that was right, and I think that would be putting them in a conflict of interest. And since then, I've just been overwhelmed with messages and reaching out from people, from average Canadians who want to help. So I've respected that, and I understand where they're coming from. They're going to make certain calculations of who they think is right, maybe that's best to win or to position themselves, and I respect their decisions. But I can tell you I was at an event last night for the Black History Month, and I ran into a few of my colleagues. They were very happy to see me, and very, very encouraging, no less.
This idea of term limits that you're raising, do you have anyone in mind who has been around for too long? who are you thinking of here?
Is there someone that's written about this when they were not there for that long? I mean, obviously, so I'm a professional I'm a professional engineer by training. So, and I'm an entrepreneur. So I tell people this: when I'm walking along and I see something on the ground that's broken, I can't help myself. My brain starts to go, okay, how can I fix this? What can I do? A strong professional politician walking sees the same thing broken on the ground. They're thinking, okay, don't touch it. Who can I blame? How can I use this to my advantage? How can I use this to get more votes? I'm not interested in that. And I think, and I've seen this, that if you're there for a fixed amount of time, you're there to work, and you understand that. It focuses the mind. It also leaves space. They're all great people, but there's many other great people that can contribute as well. And what we really want is this. I give the example of fisheries. If we're making a law about fisheries, okay, I eat fish. I like fish. But that's about it. But someone coming from, say British Columbia, or someone coming from Newfoundland that's worked in the industry, or has a brother that's worked in the industry, or has lived in that, they can come and really contribute. So I really just want to see it that way, as opposed to saying that this person, that person is bad. Having said that, let's be honest. Mr. Poilievre walked out of school, flew to Ottawa, got a job for 2 years, working in an MP's office, then got himself elected at a very young age. He's been elected for 21 years and counting. He's bought his house, raised his family. The minute he walks out, he'll get a pension of over $200,000 with cost of living, and he's this close to being Prime Minister. So what I tell people is, as you see the difference between my plan and his, well, the system works for Pierre Poilievre. The system works for him. It's not working for me, and it's not working for Canadians. That's why I'm up here talking about making these fundamental changes to the system to strengthen our democracy and get it back to working for Canadians.
Just one more. I find the point about the debate chamber to be interesting, and the idea that you would make things more efficient, but my understanding of, like, one of the principles behind Parliament is that you try to slow things down, actually, so that when a bill is put forward that could cause a lot of concern in society, it gives people time to rally around to try to slow the legislation down. So I wonder how you balance that.
Yeah, so I would take question with that. I think that absolutely that's where we've landed now, and people seem to think that's your job. It's not your job as opposition to slow anything down. Your job is to intelligently critique the bill to make it better. That's what your job is to do. Not to say I don't like you or I'm not with you, so I'm going to do everything to obstruct you. And we've now come to the point where we run our government to say obstruction is part of the business. It's wrong. It's wrong. Am I going to be single-handedly able to change the whole system? No. But now I'm telling Canadians this is what's happening. If you want your government to work and you think it's not working, you're correct. I've been there. I've seen it. And I'm going to be ringing that bell and pushing us to get back to work. So I don't agree that the job of the opposition is to slow anything down. It's to intelligently critique what is being put forth, to poke holes in it and make it better, hopefully.
So the impetus for this idea, does that come from the Parliament being gridlocked for months? Is that where this is coming from, or did you have a broader idea?
This idea has been around, like I said, for 30 years. They've had one in Australia. They've had one for 25 years in the United Kingdom. So we're not new here. This is about modernizing ourselves and getting more debates, more things through the system. So as I mentioned, instead of having a one-lane highway, you can have a two-lane highway. That's the first thing. But what's happening, to your point, what's happening today is completely unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. I want Canadians to know that their government has not been working for 3 months. However, they've been getting paid for 3 months. This is completely unacceptable in my book. And there's no great reason for it. In this particular, there's no national emergency. This is just gamesmanship by one man that wants to have an election at all costs. So he's decided that it's in his interest to absolutely gridlock the whole system and get nothing done. We have not done a good job of explaining that to Canadians and telling them this is absolutely, completely unacceptable behavior. This is completely wrong. And there's nothing that I will be saying that loud and clear, because Canadians are paying their taxes. Their taxes work their way through the system and into MPs' pockets. I believe it costs something like $70,000 an hour to run the place for nothing to get done. I want people to be mad about that. I want people to say enough. I want people to say, I'm demanding you get to work. You're taking a salary, do your job.
Nous allons prendre une question d'un journaliste en ligne. Olivier Ferron-Boisé, la parole est à vous.
Oui, bonjour, merci de prendre nos questions. Monsieur Baylis, il y a un sondage ce matin qui est paru dans le journal, sondage léger, qui démontre que Monsieur Carney semble avoir une bonne impression auprès des Québécois présentement. Vous êtes pourtant le seul candidat du Québec. Alors, qu'est-ce que vous dites aux Québécois? Pourquoi Frank Baylis et non Mark Carney?
J'ai mal entendu une portion de votre question. Peux-tu le répéter, s'il te plaît?
Oui, certainement. J'espère que ça va mieux fonctionner cette fois-ci. C'est qu'il y a un sondage ce matin qui est paru dans le journal qui démontre que M. Carney semble avoir la faveur des Québécois pour l'instant. Vous êtes pourtant le seul candidat du Québec. Alors, qu'est-ce que vous dites aux Québécois? Pourquoi Frank Baylis et non Mark Carney?
Bien, premièrement, je ne pense pas que beaucoup de Québécois savent que je suis dans la course. Il y a eu beaucoup de médias qui disaient qu'il n'y avait pas de Québécois, il n'y avait pas de personnes francophones qui se présentaient. Alors, je me dois à prendre ma place dans les médias. J'étais très occupé au commencement de la campagne à traverser le pays pour rencontrer des gens, pour leur faire en sorte qu'ils deviennent membres du parti pour me supporter. Et maintenant, je change mon focus pour être sur les médias. Et puis, je pense, avec le temps, les Québécois vont commencer à me savoir qui je suis, qu'est-ce que j'ai fait et qu'est-ce que je veux faire pour le Québec et pour le Canada. Et je suis certain qu'ils vont embarquer avec ma candidature.
Et juste pour approfondir un petit peu par rapport à Mark Carney, par exemple, qu'est-ce que vous avez à offrir de différent?
Mais Mark Carney, c'est un expert dans la politique on appelle ça la politique de monétaire. Alors, c'est quelqu'un qui est un économiste qui sait comment jouer avec les taux d'intérêt pour contrôler le taux d'inflation. Par contre, moi, je suis plutôt un expert dans la politique industrielle. J'ai créé plusieurs emplois, des milliers d'emplois, beaucoup d'entreprises et j'ai aussi œuvré 35 ans de ma vie dans le secteur de santé, alors je connais très bien la politique de la santé. Et finalement, j'ai aussi travaillé avec les droits humains, human rights. Alors, je suis très fort dans ces 3 points-là. M. Carney est très fort dans le domaine de la politique monétaire. Alors, je pense que je vais avoir cette conversation avec les Québécois, les Québécoises, et ils vont voir qu'est-ce que moi j'apporte à la table. En ce moment, ils ne me connaissent pas trop, et ils ne connaissent pas mon background, alors c'est à moi maintenant de leur expliquer ça.
Thank you. This concludes the press conference. Merci. C'est ce qui conclut la conférence de presse.
Merci, Mo. Thank you. Merci.